Good day, future CPAs! In this video, I will discuss book value per share and earnings per share. So first, let's define book value per share. Book value per share is the amount that would be paid on each share if the corporation is liquidated. Meaning to say, yung book value per share, ito yung amount or value na matatanggap ng isang shareholder sa bawat share niya dun sa corporation by the time the company has liquidated its assets. So it resembles the basic accounting equation, which is yung ALE, na kapag nalugi ng isang company, yung company's remaining assets ay dadaan sa liquidation process para ma-convert yung mga non-cash assets into cash. At kapag na-convert na ito into cash, ipamabayad mo na nila ito sa mga liabilities ng company, sa creditors, taxes, etc. And by the time na settled na lahat ng liabilities, yung matitirang cash ay i-divide per share basis at ibabalik ito sa mga shareholders at investors. And yung amount na matatanggap nila pertains to the book value per share. So sa pag-compute ng book value per share, pag meron tayong only one class of shares, ang formula na gagamitin natin ay book value per share is equals to the total shareholders' equity over the number of shares outstanding. Kapag naman meron tayong two or more classes of shares, like for example, meron kang preference shares and ordinary share, yung total shareholders' equity ay i-allocate natin between the different classes of shares. So ang formula sa pag-compute ng BBPS pag may preference share ay BBPS is equals to preference shareholders' equity over number of preference shares outstanding. In computing BBPS naman for ordinary shares, the formula is BBPS is equal to ordinary shareholders' equity over the number of ordinary shares outstanding. So sa pag-allocate ng total shareholders' equity sa different classes of share, ina-apply dito yung residual equity theory. So ang sinasabi sa residual equity theory na yung ordinary shareholders' equity daw ay ang residual amount after ma-deduct yung preference shareholders' equity from total shareholders' equity. Isa kasi sa privileges na preference shares ay sila yung mauunang makatanggap ng dividends pag may income, and sa ordinary shares ay yung tira-tira lang o yung sinasabi nga na residual amount. So this can be shown in the formula. So total shareholders' equity, that's preference shareholders, and makukuha na natin yung value ng ordinary shareholders' equity. Sa pag-compute ng preference shareholders' equity, may sinusunod tayong mga guidelines. First, allocate the preference shareholders' equity their liquidation value. In the absence of liquidation value, allocate the aggregate par value. So ano ba yung liquidation value? Yung liquidation value ito yung kapag niremove mo na yung value ng lahat ng assets and liabilities sa isang company from its financial report. Yung subtraction ng liabilities from assets will give investors the liquidation value. Ito rin yung expected value ng company's asset once it has been liquidated or sold. Yung aggregate par value naman nakuha siya by multiplying the par value of stock to the number of authorized shares. Second, kapag yung preference share mo ay cumulative, kailangan may allocate lahat ng dividends in arrears. Yung term na arrears, ito yung overdue payments. Yung dividend in arrears, ito yung mga na-miss mo na payments, dividends ng mga stockholders mo. Third, if the preference shares are non-cumulative, ang i-allocate mo lang ay ang current year dividend if it is in arrear. And lastly, kapag walang dividends in arrears, wala ka ng dividends na i-allocate. Next is outstanding shares. So outstanding shares pertain to shares that are entitled to dividends. In computing the number of outstanding shares, we simply get the sum of the number of shares issued and the number of shares subscribed. Then we deduct the number of treasury shares to the total, and we will get the number of shares outstanding. So what is subscription receivable? Subscription receivable includes the amount still to be collected from the employee or investor before the company would issue the shares. So yung subscription receivable, hindi natin siya i-deduct sa total shareholders' equity in computing for book value per share. Why? Kasi in case na nag-liquidate na yung corporation ng mga unpaid subscriptions, dapat siyang makolekta and magamit ito para i-settle yung mga liabilities ng corporation sa outside creditors. So sinusupport ito yung principle ng trust fund doctrine. So para mas maintindihan nyo yung mga cases na nabanggit natin mula sa simula, let's have illustrative examples. ABC cost year-end shareholders' equity consists of the following. So makikita nyo siya sa presentation. Meron siyang total shareholders' equity na 2,300,000. Our requirement will be compute for the book value per share. So first, let's compute for the number of shares outstanding. So number of shares issued, which is 100k plus number of shares subscribed, which is 50k. Para nakuha yung 50k, we simply divide by 100k na subscribed share capital to 10 pesos par. So we get a total of 150k. Then we less the number of treasury share, which is 10k, and we will get a total of 140k, which will be the number of shares outstanding. Next, Proceed na tayo sa computation ng BPPS. So, BPPS is equals to total shareholders equity over number of shares outstanding. BPPS equals our total shareholders equity which is 2.5M. So, bakit 2.5M at 2.3M lang yung nasa given? So, kung papapansin nyo sa given, dineduct yung succession receivable na 200K. Sabi natin kanina, for the purposes of computing BPPS, hindi siya dinededuct sa total shareholders equity. Therefore, i-add back natin siya or pwede rin na i-ignore na lang natin siya when computing for the total shareholders equity. So, going back, 2.5M divided by yung na-compute natin kanina na number of shares outstanding na 140K and we will get 17.86 which should be our BPPS. Next illustration, ABC cost year-end shareholders equity consists of the following. Preference share 10% cumulative 100 pesos per 20,000 shares 2 million. Ordinary share 10 pesos per 100,000 shares issued 1 million. Retained earnings 820,000. Total shareholders equity 3,120,000. Dividends are in arrears for 3 years. A requirement will be computed for the book value per share for each class of shares. So, unahin natin i-compute yung BPPS ng ordinary shares. Total shareholders equity which is 3.82M. Less natin yung preference shareholders equity. So, yung preference shareholders equity consists of aggregate par value of 2M and dividends in arrears. Yung dividends in arrears, makuha natin siya by getting the product of 2M preference shares, 10% cumulative, and 3 years which is equal to 600K. 2M plus 600K and we will get 2.6M which should be the number of preference share dividend and we will deduct it to 3.82M and we will get 1.22M which should be the number of ordinary shareholders equity. Then para sa computation ng BPPS for ordinary shares, we will divide the number of shareholders equity which is 1.22M to the number of ordinary shares outstanding which is 100K and we will get a total of 12.20 which should be a BPPS of ordinary shares. Next computation naman is the BPPS of preference shares. So, BPPS is equals to preference shareholders equity which is 2.6M yung na-compute natin kanina divided by number of preference shares outstanding which is 20K and we will have a total of 130 which should be the BPPS of preference shares. Illustration for cumulative preference shares with liquidation value. ABC cost year-end shareholders equity consists of the following. Preference shares 10% cumulative 100 par 20,000 shares liquidation value of 120 per share 2 million. Ordinary share 10 par 100,000 shares issued 1 million. Retained earnings 820,000. Total shareholders equity 3,820,000. Dividends are in arrears for 3 years. Compute for the book value per share for ordinary shares. So para makapit natin yung book value per share, yung total shareholders equity natin is 3.82M minus natin yung preference shareholders equity na 3M. Paano nakuha yung 3M? Una compute natin yung liquidation value. So 20K shares times 120, that is 2.4M. The next yung dividend in arrears, 2M times 10% times years dahil nga cumulative, that is 600K. So 2.4M plus 600K kaya naging 3M. Now 3.82M minus 3M, ordinary shareholders equity natin ay 820K. Divide natin ito sa number of ordinary shares outstanding, that is 8.20. Ito na yung magiging book value per share natin. Illustration for non-cumulative preference shares. So, same given, pero this time, yung preference share natin ay non-cumulative. To compute for the book value per share, first i-minus natin total shareholders equity natin na 3.82M at yung preference shareholders equity na 2.2M. Paano nakuha yung 2.2M? Yung aggregate par value natin which is yung 20K shares times 100 par, that is 2M. Plus yung dividend natin for current year only dahil non-cumulative nga siya. That is 200K. Nakuha ito by multiplying 2M sa 10%. So going back, total shareholders equity 3.82M minus 2.2M, that is 1.62M. Ordinary shareholders equity divided by number of ordinary shares outstanding which is 100K. So the book value per share is 16.20. Illustration for no dividends in arrears. Same ulit sa mga naunang given, pero sabi dito, yung preference dividends were paid up to year-end, thus there are no dividends in arrears. To compute for the book value per share, total shareholders equity 3.82M minus yung preference shareholders equity na 2M which is yung amount lang ng aggregate per value natin. Wala tayong dividend na i-allocate dahil sabi sa problem, there are no dividends in arrears. So 3.82M minus 2M, that is 1.82M. Ordinary shareholders equity divided by number of ordinary shares outstanding 100K. Book value per share natin is 18.20. participating preference shares. So kapag sa given problem ating preference shares ay participating, yung excess dun sa total shareholders' equity over the allocated amounts to preference shares and ordinary shares is i-allocate natin sa participating preference shares and sa ordinary shares proportionately or in pro rata based dun sa aggregate par values. For illustration, ABC cost year-end shareholders' equity consists of the following: 10% preference shares cumulative fully participating 100 par 20,000 shares 2 million, 8% preference shares non-cumulative fully participating 80 par 2,500 shares 200,000, ordinary share 10 par 100,000 shares issued 1 million, retained earnings 820,000, total shareholders' equity 4,020,000. Given the ordinaries for 3 years, compute for the book value per share for each class of share. As given in the problem, meron tayong total shareholders' equity na 4.02M. So, una natin gagawin ay i-allocate muna natin. Sa aggregate par values, meron tayong 2M for 10% preference shares cumulative and fully participating, then 200K for 8% preference shares non-cumulative and fully participating, then 1M for ordinary shares, and we have a total of 3.2M for aggregate par values. Sa allocation naman ng dividends, we have 600K for 10% PS. So, paano natin nakuha yung 600K? We simply multiply aggregate par value of 2M to its 10% rate, then we multiply it to 3 years dahil nga cumulative siya. So, we have 16K for 8% PS. So, saan nakuha yung 16K? So, minultiply lang natin yung aggregate par value niya na 200K sa 8% rate niya. As ordinary share naman, we have 80K. So, saan nakuha yung 80K? So, sabi kanina, in computing dividends for ordinary shares, kukunin natin yung mas mababang rate. Kaya yun yung 8%. So, multiply natin yung aggregate par value ng 1M sa 8%. You will have 80K. Yung mga na-complete natin sa allocation ay i-deduct natin sa total shareholders' equity. So, 4.02M minus 3.2M minus 600K minus 16K minus 80K, you will have a total of 124K, which will be the balance for participation. So, yung excess na to, i-allocate natin pro rata. For 10% PS, 124K times pro rata niya based sa aggregate par value niya na 2 over 3.2 equals 77.5K. For 8% preference share, 124K times 0.2 over 3.2, 7.75K. And your ordinary shares, 124K times 1 over 3 over 2 equals 38,750. So, total natin yung mga allocation per class of shares. For 10% PS, we have 2,677,500. For 8% PS, we have 223,750. And for the ordinary share, we have 1,118,750. So next, i-compute naman natin yung book value nila. So unahin natin yung 10% PS. So 2,677,500 divided by outstanding share of 20K shares, you will have book value per share of 433.88. Next, compute naman natin yung BPPS na 8% PS. 223,750 divided by outstanding share of 2,500, we have BPS of 89.50. And lastly, compute naman natin yung BPS na ordinary shares. So, 1,118,750 divided by 100,000 shares, we will have BPS of 1119. And that's it. For the next topic, we are going to discuss earnings per share. This topic is governed by PAS 33. Yung earnings per share, EPS, kinukupit lang natin siya for ordinary shares or yung common stock in other term. So why just ordinary shares? Because only ordinary shares have what we call the variable return on investment. In general, hindi na nila mag-compute ng EPS for preference shares dahil ito ay may fixed return as represented by the dividend rates. However, kapag sila entitled to a variable return in addition to their fixed return, they may compute for EPS. For example, your participating preference shares. Such shares are considered as special ordinary shares for purposes of EPS computation. So, ano ba yung EPS? EPS is a form of profitability ratio. Minimeasure nito kung magkano yung profit or loss na na-earn or na-include in isang entity for each ordinary share. So, sino lang yung required na mag-present ng EPS sa kanilang financial statements? Well, ang required lang na mag-present ng EPS sa kanilang income statement ay yung mga publicly listed companies and yung mga in-process na yung pagiging publicly listed. So before we move on sa two types ng EPS, let's compare first what is the difference between ordinary shares and preference shares. So yung ordinary share is an equity instrument that is subordinate to all other classes of equity instruments. Meaning to say, when it comes to distribution of profits or dividends in isang corporation, ang inuuna bigyan is yung preference shares. And then yung matitira, yung mapupunta kay ordinary shares. Si ordinary shares, meron siyang voting rights, and ang isang entity, pwede siyang magkaroon ng more than one type of ordinary shares, often referred to as alphabet shares. Yung preference shares naman, it has preference over classes of shares, meaning to say, it has certain advantages over ordinary shares, advantages as to dividends or as to asset. Sabi natin kanina, kapag kumita ang isang corporation, ang inuunang bigyan is yung preference shares, and kapag naman sa liquidation, ang unang binabayaran is yung preference shares. There are two types of EPS, basic EPS and diluted EPS. Next, how do we compute basic earnings per share? So basic earnings per share is equal to the company's profit or loss or the company's net income less preferred dividends all over the weighted average number of outstanding ordinary shares. So this is natin isa-isa yung nasa formula. So sa profit or loss or the company's net income, so pag sinabi natin net income, it should be the net income after tax. So pag before tax ang nasa problem, you need to remove first the tax effect para makomplete mo yung net income after tax. Next, sa preferred dividends naman, may dalawang klase siya, the cumulative and the non-cumulative. So pag cumulative siya, we deduct 1 year dividend. Take note of that 1 year always, whether declared man siya or hindi. Pag non-cumulative naman, magdeduct lang tayo sa computation only when the preference share dividends are declared. Next is yung weighted average number of outstanding ordinary shares. Kinukompute ito by applying a time weighting factor to the number of ordinary shares at the beginning of the period and to all issuances and acquisitions during the period. Para mas maintindihan natin, let's have an illustrative example. Let's say ABCO reported profit for the year amounting to 1 million pesos. ABCO has the following instrument, it was shown in the dividend. ABCO declared the following dividends during the year, shown on the dividend also. Dividend in arrears on cumulative preference share as of the beginning of the year amounted to 200k. There were no issuances or acquisitions of ordinary shares during the period. So for our requirement, compute for the basic earnings per share for the period. So using the formula in computing basic EPS is equals to profit, which is 1M less preferred dividends. So kung makikita nyo sa problem, meron tayong cumulative and non-cumulative. So ilalagay natin quantity of 10k times 100 times 10% quantity for our cumulative less 25k for our non-cumulative all over 11k. So our basic EPS will be 79.55. So bakit natin isinama yung 20k na non-cumulative preference share? Ito ay dahil hindi pa siya na-declare. So yung 150k cumulative preference share naman, hindi na natin isinama dahil only 1 year dividend lang ang kasama. So yung declared ordinary shares naman, ini-ignore na lang siya dahil considered na siya as declared ordinary shareholders. Yung dividends in arrears naman, ignore na din natin siya dahil hindi na sinasama in computing basic EPS. Next is retrospective adjustment. So pag ang ordinary shares ay in-issue without corresponding change in resources or asset, the basic and diluted EPS and the weighted average number of ordinary shares and outstanding during the period and for all periods are adjusted retrospectively. Meaning to say, pag nag-represent ka ng basic EPS sa comparative FS, kaya sa 2020, for example, nangyari yung bonus, i-effect mo rin siya sa 2019. Dahil pag hindi mo siya tinanit retrospectively, hindi na magiging comparative yung dalawang FS mo. Examples of issuance of ordinary shares without corresponding change in resources. Share stock dividend, bonus element in any other issue, share split, and reverse share split. Next, let's have an illustrative example. Such company has one class of ordinary share outstanding and no other securities that are potentially convertible into ordinary shares. During 2029, 100,000 ordinary shares were outstanding. In 2030, two distribution of additional ordinary shares occurred. On April 1, 20,000 shares of treasury shares were sold, and on July 1, a 2-for-1 share split was issued. Profit was 410,000 in 2030 and 350,000 in 2029. The question is, what amount should stores report as basic earnings per share in its 2030 and 2029 comparative income statements? So yung 2-for-1 share split, gagawin natin siya retrospectively as if nangyari na siya noong 2029 pa lang. So compute muna natin yung basic EPS for the year 2030. So our profit for 2030 is 410,000 for a denominator, and January 1, meron tayong 100,000 times 12 over 12 times 2 kasi may share split, it is equal to 200,000. And noong April 1, nagbenta tayo ng 20,000 treasury shares times April 1, so 9 man siya or 9 over 12 times 2 equals 30k. So 200k plus 30k equals 230k shares, and that will be our denominator. So 410k divided by 230,000 shares equals 1.78. Next naman, compute natin yung 2029. Basic EPS for the year 2029 will be equal to profit in 2029, which is 350k. Then wala namang other securities dito, so walang preferred dividends. Next to compute for our denominator, 100k share outstanding times 2 kasi 2-for-1, and that will be equal to 200k shares,
and that will be our denominator. So 350 divided by 200k equals 1.75. So our final answer is 1.78 is the basic EPS for 2030 and 1.75 for the year 2029. So ibang topics like right issue and diluted EPS ay i-discuss natin in the next video.